Welcome to Can I Park Here? Brought to you by FindAFashionTruck.com. Nashay and Estrell's mission is to inspire future and existing small business owners. They don't claim to be experts. They're simply trying to figure this all out, just like you.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Can I Park Here podcast, located on StartAFashionTruck.com. My name is Nashay, and I'm here with
Estrell.
Today we have a great guest, but before we get into it, I just want to say that we're actually recording this intro the week that this podcast airs, which we don't always get to do because we try to stay as organized as possible. So usually we try to do the intro and outro the week we actually record, which could be a month in advance. But this is pretty timely. So it's officially summer now.
Right. We're not like Happy New Year and it's May.
Right. But for those of you who are just joining us, I just wanted to just take 2 seconds to introduce us. My name is Nashay. So, Estrell and I, we started FindAFashionTruck.com, which is a directory, and StartAFashionTruck.com, which is a blog and the location of the Can I Park Here podcast. But besides that, we both each have our own companies where we make stuff. I am CreativeRoute.com, where I make handmade light switch plates, and Estrell.
Well, my name is Estrell RuPauls, and that is actually the name of my website, my blog. It's a DIY home blog, and that is ASTRALRILES.com. And I also hand make macrame wall hangings. And you can find me on Etsy at ASTRALRuPauls.com/shop.
Yeah. And so we just wanted to tell you guys that because we do not own our own fashion truck. We love fashion trucks, of course, but we're kind of on the vendor end. But what value we try to add is that business sense. Both Estrell and I have had like multiple sites before. We've worked with companies before. We've done craft fairs before. We've done a lot of things, and we do this on the side on our nights and weekends. So we've had decent success at our side gigs. And so we try to share that information. But another thing that we love doing, and I think we're decent at, is bringing people together and also research. So we try to find experts in certain topics, and interview them to then give you information you need to start your own mobile boutique, be it in a truck, online, or in a brick and mortar. But I just thought, since this is our 50th episode, which is crazy, that I would just kind of share that just so you guys can understand who we are and, what we do for fun.
And even though we don't have a fashion truck just yet, we do want one. And I think it helps us by interviewing all of the existing fashion truck owners and having our private Facebook group. We are gaining knowledge just like everybody else. So when they share, we learn a little bit more. And in the event that Nashay and I end up in the same city one day, because she's in the DC area and I'm in Chicago, then there is a possibility that we will get our own fashion truck together. So fingers crossed, people. But leading into a little info on our guest, Emily Benson, she is a business consulting expert. And considering that we both have our own businesses, this episode really gave us a lot of knowledge for what we should do for our own businesses ourselves. She gives great information on how to successfully run a business.
Absolutely. And some key takeaways here. So Emily has 12 years in the industry. So that's, actually working for brick and mortar stores, owning her own brick and mortar stores, owning her own fashion truck. So she brings just a lot of kind of information from just dealing with different, areas in fashion. And, she even mentions how her first year on the road, she made $180,000, which is pretty impressive. And it's from that knowledge that she was able to do that, those years of working for other people in retail, learning from them and then being able to be successful herself. And another thing that we touch on in this episode too is that money mindset and like really figuring out what to truly charge, because you're not out here to work for free. None of us are trying to work for free, but sometimes some people get so caught up in just wanting to sell, they don't realize like they might need to sell their items for a little bit more just to make a profit. And people tend to sometimes shy away from that. So we talk a little bit about that too. We'll get right to the episode, but I will say, normally our episodes are usually profanity free. There are a couple of curse words in here and there. We just wanted to put that disclaimer out because if you've been listening from day one, you've never heard us say like one word. And so
even though I want to, and Nishay won't let me, like I curse like a sailor. So this is like a miracle that I could do these episodes without saying not one bad word.
But this episode has a couple of words in here sprinkled out. So if you are listening to this with small children around, you may want to wait until they're asleep or wait until you're in the car. But we just wanted to put that disclaimer out since most of our episodes are considered, clean, if you will.
So let's get into the episode and find out more about Emily.
For the listeners out there, can you tell them a little bit about your background, and then we'll go into some of your other endeavors, including the fashion truck, and then what's next for you too?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll go way back to college. So I went to school, and so I majored in design and surface pattern design. So basically that was like designing fabric, and my focus was fashion fabric because I was like, I don't want to do like curtains and rugs. Like I want to do apparel. And so my best friend and I started making clothes. So we would like go to the Salvation Army, buy stuff, cut it up, put it together. And then through that, we actually like ended up putting on fashion shows all around the city of Syracuse. So we put on 7 fashion shows in 2 years. And our last one was amazing. We were the headliners at this huge show at the Everson Museum of Art, which is like basically the Syracuse, New York Art Museum. Mm-hmm. And so it was really fun and I loved fashion. So after school, I really wanted to know like, how do you sell stuff? Because like we put on all these fashion shows and made negative money, basically. So, we're in college, we're really just in it for like the models and the champagne, right? Isn't that what everyone's in it for when they're, 21? So after that, I interviewed with Abercrombie and Fitch corporate office in Ohio, and I got a job in their merchandise training program. So I basically went through a 10-week training program learning how basically to make design, manufacture, sell clothes. That was amazing. I called it my fashion grad school because once I went through that training, then they put you in a department and I became an assistant merchant. And so I ran, at that point, it was a $25 million business, girls accessories. And we had 163 stores for the kids store. This is like in Abercrombie's heyday. So I was in charge of like a lot. And granted, yes, I had, I was 23, so I had people checking on me and, it wasn't all me running the show. But it was so cool because I got to take my design background and then I got to learn all the financials really about how to run an amazing retail business. Like I grew that business. I mean, depending on the department, like I grew it, I think 111% like year over year. The help, my boss, of course, but just like taking the design in a better direction and maximizing what was working. And so it was just a really nice taste of what it's like to run a really big business, and a business within a business too, because obviously you have to care about the store. And then at that time, Abercrombie and Fitch, the company, had 4 brands. It had A&F, Rural, Hollister, and then Little Abercrombie, which is the one I work for. And so then you saw how it rolled up into the total company. It was just a very cool first job, honestly. And we got to wear flip-flops and like jeans and sweatshirts. So it was even cooler.
And you get to learn about every aspect of the business too, right?
Yeah.
And that leadership, corporate, budget, I mean, everything. That sounded like it was a great experience.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, honestly, the way that they described it to me there, the role of the merchant is really like you're the center of a wheel, and all the spokes off the wheel are the ones you have to kind of keep moving to make sure that the wheel moves like running your business, which I thought was such a cool analogy. So it was like you have your design team, you have your planning team, you have allocation, you have, we had to like do a day in the warehouse and learn how to like measure all the things that came in and test. And, we did testing and how to work with sourcing and how the sourcing team worked with factories. And like, it just literally like, ask me something about fashion and I probably can answer it, because they really gave you this super in-depth knowledge. And it actually got me even more excited, I think, because I realized the things we see in stores on the shelves, God, that little garment has been through, it's touched so many people. And then people, I see a customer say, oh God, the price, and it's like, dude, do you know how many people have touched that? Come on, So it's really interesting to, know the ins and outs of really how the retail industry works. That's, I feel like, where I really got the first taste of it.
So, and how many years did you do that?
I was there for like a year and a half. So I got promoted, and then I was in so Abercrombie's headquarters is in New Albany, Ohio, which is literally like white picket fences, middle of nowhere. And I was 23, 24. So I was like, okay, all my friends had moved to New York City. And I was like, all right, my boss was leaving. I was ready to kind of move on. Like I had done so much in that business and really learned what I needed to be able to kind of move on to the next.
But it's cool that most people pay for college to learn all of that stuff, but you were able to gain all of that knowledge and get paid yourself at the same time. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I think, Abercrombie is unique. Like there are some other companies like Target, Abercrombie. I know Gap used to have a training, like Gap Inc., Banana, Old Navy. They all have like training programs. So they recruit kids like right out of college. And I was one of the rare kids that like wasn't like, I walked in the first day in my training class. So I think there was probably like 30 of us. I was the one random girl who was like, we had to go around the room and introduce ourselves. And people were like, I went to Princeton and I was a political science major. And I went to Yale and I was a finance major. And then I'm like, I went to Syracuse and I was an art and design major. And everyone looked at me like, who is this girl? Because like everyone they had recruited was just so like straight and narrow. And I like came in as this really with a design brain, and so it made it really unique for me because I was able to communicate with our design team in a way that normal merchants couldn't. Like they didn't get it. They couldn't talk like hue, saturation, like levels, stitching, like weight, all that stuff. And I could. And so it was really this, I think the lucky stars that like we knew, a friend of a friend had an internship at Abercrombie, and because of what I had done in college, like I think it really actually speaks to kind of working your ass off in college to be able to make opportunities for yourself. All those fashion shows, like we did that ourselves. Like no one came to us. We really made a name for ourselves in the city of Syracuse. And so that kind of put us on the scene where we were I was a good fit for Abercrombie at that point because, I had worked so hard to build something for myself. And then that opportunity came up and it was a good fit. So I think when you're in college, like if anyone listening is in college, I think you really, if you want to do something, like go and find an opportunity to do it. Because if you don't, like, it's not going to be given to you.
Yeah. And I feel like college too, because I was, a design and photography major, it gives you that foundation. You can use that foundation and then the opportunities that you have in college, be it internships or kind of creating your own way. And then that kind of paves the way to that next step after you get out of college, and they kind of go hand in hand. So it sounds like yours was like pretty seamless, which is pretty cool. You just kept kind of building that knowledge. I think sometimes people don't know what they love, but it sounded like you knew that you had like this love for fashion and design, and you wanted to make sure whatever you went into like had that kind of, I guess, theme, that you stuck with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's funny because my friends in high school, like never, like I was actually into political science and government and, and then I went to college and just like, because I went to art school, it was just, I had this spark that I really loved graphic design in high school. And so I took that little spark and kind of turned it into a fire. And then as that fire built, it was just like, oh my God, like I discovered all these new ways that, I guess I never growing up thought of myself as very creative. I wouldn't have, I think, called myself. I definitely had an entrepreneurial spirit as a kid. Like I was always wanting to be this, that, I was always had lots of ideas of what I was going to be when I grew up. But I don't think I really latched on to really like a creative path until college. And I think in art school, like you can probably relate that you're around all these other creative people. So it's just like, it's a constant flood of new ideas and information and perspectives that you just don't really get in, I think, a traditional like liberal arts situation.
After like even, the Abercrombie and Fitch, I'm just assuming like, it was very stable. You had insurance and all of that good stuff. So what made you decide to do something else after that? Because sometimes that's pretty scary for people.
Yeah. So I actually went and worked in New York for 4 more years in New York City. I worked for Henry Bendel as a merchant. I started with Limited Brands and they own, I still stayed in corporate I was in corporate for about 7 years total, corporate retail. Okay. So I just basically kept getting promoted and kept learning more and more and more and working on really higher end products. So I worked for Henry Bendel I was kind of like an accessories merchant overall for a while. And then I focused on handbags, luggage, footwear. I think that's it. And so I really like specialized more in like leathers and, I took the accessories general thing and just, we were making handbags like in Italy and it was insanely amazing. Like I got to work with all these great vendors. And at that point, Henry Bendel was just a Fifth Avenue flagship store. So I actually got to help rebrand, redesign, and relaunch the whole brand. I was there at such a pivotal, amazing moment. And so we redid everything, launched private label, and tested it in the Fifth Ave store. And it did so well that we ended up rolling it out and opened 4 stores over the course of, I think, like 5 or 6 months. So I actually got to go and help open all the stores too. And so I got that real life, oh my God, there's an empty store. Like, how do you merchandise it? So that really put me in a spot where I started to be like, that's where I think that the idea started, where I was like, I had always kind of knew I wanted to have a boutique, but I think being at Bendel's in like a Fifth Avenue Henry Bendel flagship store, and then having that experience, which is like such a magical retail space for me, and then going and trying to replicate that in these mall stores it really truly showed me like how to open up a store because like, you're there like 2 days before it's going to open and it's literally kind of empty. And, so getting to fly around and work with the teens in those stores it was so much fun. And that's when I started to be like, okay, like how am I going to open my own boutique? And I really just started to like, ooh, like, how does this work? Where does it happen? And I just kind of was so scared of the idea of a brick and mortar store. It just freaked me out. I knew if I did that, it would put roots down somewhere, which scared the hell out of me at, 26, 27. And so I basically, like, over the course of probably like 2 or 3 years, like I took some classes, talk about delay tactics. Like I took a class at FIT called How to Open a Boutique. And I got there and I was like, are you kidding? Why am I paying money to take this? Like, it's so stupid. Like, I knew exactly what I was doing. The teacher, I will never forget her. She owned a store on 125th Street in Harlem, a women's boutique for like 25 years called like the Brownstoner. And literally every week in class, like, you could ask her any question, but literally her answer would always be like, you can do it. Just do it. Every answer. You can do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just
get started.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you if you have a mentor or anybody helping you. And I'm guessing it's not her.
No, I mean, she was pretty freaking cool. I will give her that.
But sometimes it is just getting started, because her thing is probably like, yeah, you're in here in this class with me. I can talk to you to your blue in your face, but what you have to do is just do it, right?
Just do it. Like literally, like stop sitting on your ass, like put the money out, invest in what you want, invest in your dream, time and money, and just go do it. Like everyone is capable of doing it if they can figure it out, you know, and just commit to it. So I would have to say like my mentors were like, I definitely had a couple really, like I had an amazing boss at Abercrombie and Fitch who just taught me everything I know. Like I actually turned to her the first day, like working with her, and I said, let's preface this with Emily went to art school. So I look at her and I said, could you just remind me how to calculate a percentage real quick? And she, I think, wanted to die. Like, she was like, how did I get this girl? Like, she is so stupid. Like, who doesn't know how to calculate a percentage? Like, honestly. And so she was amazing, literally taught me everything. And then I had like a really great boss, Bob at Henry Bendel. At Bendel's, we also had an amazing CEO, Ed Bucarelli, who was like just a visionary. He was kind of like, I hate to say the word bitchy, but he was definitely like, had this fashiony edge where he was like, no, that's not going to work. Like, But he also could like see what was coming, and he could like see where the future of fashion was going. And I always like respected that for him, because he was very firm on seeing the vision and sticking with it and seeing it through. And I think he was definitely someone who I just really loved working alongside him, and like him. And then he brought on like his, like, I don't know, I think they had worked together at some job in the past, but her name is Dina Battapaglia. And she's this fiery redheaded woman who just like, she would literally call me at 6 a.m. and be like, Emily, get to the store. And I'd be like, shit. And I'd have to like put on clothes, take a cab uptown. And like, she'd have a whole wall taken out, and she'd be like, we have to re-merchandise this whole wall before the store opens at like 10. And I'm like, oh dear God, like this job is going to give me a heart attack. Like, but that's how she was. She just was like, she had this really great, again, also like such a visionary, but at the same time, like she definitely had this like softer side. And I think for me, I loved, you know, surprisingly, there's a lot of men that work in retail too. And I think it was cool to have her as another woman mentor, because she just like, I don't know, you could like totally just cry in front of her because you're like, today sucks, you know, and she just like wouldn't give you shit for it, you know, because she knew how tough you were. And so like, if you were crying, like it was a really shitty day, you know? And so I think I always like, yeah, I definitely, at the beginning of my book, I actually like dedicated my book to all of these people, because like, they're the ones that, you know, really taught me how to think like a merchant and how to act like a merchant and how to really like, you know, I think a lot of times when someone wants to open a boutique, I'm like, great, do it. But at the same time, I think my big learning is like, you need to know about the retail industry. You need to know what's going on in fashion, but you also need to have the chops financially to understand what it really does take to run a successful store, because you can sell as much merchandise as you want, but if you don't have a good margin, you're not going to make enough money. You're going to pay yourself back for that inventory, and then you can't pay your operating costs. You know, it's just so, yeah, thanks for asking that question about mentors. Cause I think that I definitely had some really, they're still like how high powered people. My boss that I asked about percentages, she now owns 4 Bar Method franchises in Vancouver and West Vancouver in Canada. So she's just like crushing it still, you know, it's just really cool to have people like that in your life.
Have you taken anyone under your wings?
Have I taken anyone under my wings? Yeah. I mean, I've definitely had like a lot of assistants and I think for me, like through consulting is how I tend to take any like people under my wings. I think that's really how I've met more people. And you know, it's funny because I'm the type of person where I'll always help someone. You know, I'm not that like, I like if someone like sends me a Facebook message or someone emails me and they're like, hey, can I just ask you a couple like, so there's a difference. If someone's like, hey, can I pick your brain? I'm like, okay, read my book first and then come back. You know, like I got to the point where I was like, I can't help everyone. And so that's like really why I wrote my book. And then But if you just have a quick question, like I generally will just like, it might take me 5 days, but I'll shoot you back like, hey, like think about this, think about that. And I try to at least give people value and something to go on because, sometimes you do just need someone to like confirm like, hey, I'm not crazy, or like, hey, like, yeah, it is hard to get insurance, or yeah, it is hard to do this, but like, you'll figure it. Like, I was one of the first trucks in the country. Like no one knew what I was doing. Everyone I called was like, what? Huh? Are you serious? Like, what are you talking about? Like no one got it. And so, I mean, when people I see like in the Facebook group, especially like people are just frustrated and people say no and I'm like, keep going. That's what's going to happen. Like, you got to keep going. And if you don't keep going, you're probably not cut out for this business. It's not one to take lightly. So.
Now, before we talk about your book, I want to kind of ask you, I guess it's more personal rather. So since you have the book and you have all of this experience, when it comes to like friends and other people that you meet that want to get more information, how do you like draw that line between giving stuff away for free and helping people? Because that's very, very hard, especially when it comes to like friends and family, people that are close to you. It's like they try to get everything they can for free. So how do you draw that line and say, hey, this is my business, I can help you, but I still need to get paid?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, and I think especially like, I totally hear you on this because I think especially like I work a lot. I mean, all my clients are women now. And, I think it's a hard line to draw because I think women by nature are very helpful. We want to nurture, we want to support each other and people around us. But at the same time, it's also like I spent years and years and years and money, to invest in myself. So clearly I have value, So I think for me, I think if someone comes to me and they have good intentions and, they really do want to start something, I kind of have this like limit in my mind where it's like, I'll kind of give like a half an hour away for free, because then I'm like, all right, like right now my hourly rate is about $400 an hour, and so, okay, a half an hour, like that's not going to kill me, and if I have the time to give, I'll give it. Sometimes I have to say no though, because I also have to set the boundary. So I think it depends. Like if I think I hate to prejudge people, but I think I can usually tell okay, how serious is this person really, and then after that, it's kind of like, okay. And I think, I don't know, it's hard to do that. I think now that I don't have my brick and mortar store, honestly, less people come to me for help because it's a little harder to get to me. Whereas like at the brick and mortar store, I was basically
they can corner you.
Yeah, I was like a sitting duck for help. Like I literally had a chair across from my like I had a desk with my checkout and like I had a chair there sometimes like all day with just a rotating door of people who like wanted advice or wanted help. And that I think like really was exhausting. And I think that's also where I learned like, hey, I can help people and like the stuff I'm giving away is valuable. So let me figure out how to make it work. So it, like you said, like you get paid for it,
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then just so people have like a good background on, where you went after kind of working in the retail industry, what year did you start your fashion truck and then your brick and mortar store? And then how long did you have those?
Yeah, so I went straight from living in New York. I actually like had the idea for the fashion truck in the summer of 2010. And for Christmas that year, or I'm sorry, for my birthday in November, I had my dad buy me thefashiontruck.com. And in January, like January 9th, I got laid off. And I was like, okay, universe, like got it. So that was January 2011. I moved back to Boston because I was living in Manhattan at the time. And I knew if I was going to start anything, I needed family support and like basically a free place to live while I tested this weird idea out that I had. And so I moved back to Boston in March of 2011, then bought the truck in April. I renovated it with my dad, bought inventory in May, and I was on the road by June 9th. Between January and June, I was just like off and running basically. And then I had the truck for I still have it sitting in my driveway. It's hopefully being sold soon. But I basically ran that until last summer. So 2015. And then I had the store. I opened that in November of 2013. And then I closed that in November of 2015. So I had the brick and mortar store for 2 years.
So the truck now, it's for sale. Can you tell us all about the details?
Yeah. So basically, I'm not selling the business name. I'm just selling the truck. It's located in Massachusetts. And right now, so it's all decked out. Like it comes with everything. It has 2 generators, heat, air conditioning. You know, I have crown molding. It's beautiful. Like it's all custom designed. It even has sliding black back doors that are made of plexiglass that my dad designed and custom built. Yeah. So yeah, well, we realized like when you start to try to heat and cool the truck, like you kind of have to keep it closed off. So I actually have this sketch from 2010 when I was first designing the truck in my head and on sketch paper of these sliding doors. And so it's really cool because now it's a thing. Yeah, so it's all like basically completely done. It's a 2004 Chevy Workhorse and it has 123,000 miles on it and it's a gas engine. And it's in great shape. And right now I'm selling it. I just reduced the price to $35,000.
And so, you know, for the listeners out there who are contemplating starting their own fashion truck and you are in the area or close to it, or you can get to the vehicle, go take a look at it. I mean, if you really think about it, after your investment for your truck, if you're buying a used vehicle and then the renovation costs and all of that, you probably will end up spending around that anyway. So, hey, it might benefit you to just go ahead and get it already done. You know, that way it'll take a lot of time, you know, off of your, you know, that you won't have to waste waiting for work to get done. And it's frustrating sometimes too when you're trying to have work done.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, basically all you'd have to do if you bought my truck was wrap it and buy inventory. That's it.
Yeah.
So, you know, another $7,000-ish investment and you're on the road like tomorrow. So yeah, it's a pretty sweet deal actually. So yeah. And like you said, you know, getting the work done is the hardest part. Like this is actually my second truck because I crashed my first one. And so we have made renovations that, you know, like I'm not an advocate of like the peel and stick floor because we had that. And guess what? Like it comes apart, you know, and
really? Yeah.
It's totally,
is it just from the traffic or it's just because of the quality?
Yeah, I think it's the movement of the truck, honestly.
Okay.
So my dad is a designer and he has built sailboats and things like that. So he basically built it with all of his knowledge from how to build a sailboat, which is like constantly moving. So you have to build the truck interior in a very specific way to make sure that things just don't come apart, you know?
That's actually good information to know because I didn't even think about that, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, just when you drive it, like everything moves inside. So it's like, you know, regardless of people coming inside, it's also, you know, taking left-hand turns and going over bumps. It's like everything in there is moving. So yeah, it's definitely like my dad and I had a really awesome synergy building it because with my retail background and doing displays and all that kind of stuff, and then his like design and carpentry knowledge, like it was just, when we first built it, I joked with him. I was like, we should just build these trucks. And he was like, Emily, stop it. Like, no, because I have 1,000 business ideas all the time. So he has to like shut it down a little bit. So yeah. So the truck is beautiful. I love it. People always ask me if I'm a franchise because it's, you know, my logo is done really professionally. Everything I did was just, I really, you know, try to make it look as high end as possible because, you know, the thing with a truck is it's really weird I still say a store in a truck is a weird idea. People don't wrap their heads around it very quickly. And they also like, you know, there's that old saying, oh, the clothes fell off the back of the truck. And so like, you kind of have to like take down the creepy factor of having a store in a truck. So, you know, I really tried to make it super warm and welcoming and of course, like I said, I have crown molding, which people are always like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. And we have 2 dressing rooms and storage. And yeah, so it's gorgeous. I'm definitely sad to let it go. But I think, for me, working in retail for 12 years total, I kind of got sick of it. And I realized like I just have this bigger purpose. Like you said, actually, it's funny you asked about where do you draw the line with helping people? And I think that was one of the things that I realized was I was like, I am literally helping hundreds of women a year and men, frankly, start businesses between consulting, between the store, between, the book. Like it's just, this is what I'm doing. So it's such a natural transition to become a business consultant. Like it's kind of a no-brainer. So that's where I am now. I've been pretty much transitioning into that since like January. I took November and December kind of off because I just needed it. And then in January, I started taking business consulting clients. So it's just been off and away since then.
So when did you decide, because I'm looking even on your website now and I see that, of course, you have the book that people can buy on Amazon, and we'll have a link to that in the show notes. And you have like webinar, one-on-one coaching, and free business videos also. So when did you decide to start doing it? And did it help a lot to really kind of diversify the funds that you have in? Because we just had actually Tin Lizzie from Annapolis, Maryland on here, and she was talking about all the different ways that she tries to make money. So she's just not like only relying, for example, on the truck at certain events. So I'm just curious for you, at what point did you decide to like start doing the webinars and writing the book, and I'm assuming that it brought in a significant amount of income because now you can do this full time or kind of work towards having it support you full time.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, so I'll tell you, like the webinar, I've always made a ton of money in my retail businesses, to be very frank and honest with you. That selling inventory has always been my number one way to make money. I did $180,000 in revenue my first year on the road. So I definitely was never hurting for money. I think for me, the consulting came super naturally. Like I joined the American Mobile Retail Association as a member, and in getting to kind of know Stacy and Janine, I was like, hey, like you guys are teaching this, 101 kind of webinar. Like, what if I taught the 102? Like with all my retail background, I think I could really make a difference. Once people are kind of up and running, I can teach them how to like book events and how to make money and how to have the right margins and cash flow and really like the nitty gritty of running a retail business, because that's my background, So I started doing that. I want to say in like, it was before I opened the store. So probably like May of 2013, something like that, I think was when I started consulting. And, my webinar was really like, I mean, it's 50 pages of so much. Like by the end, I'm always like, oh, I like need a nap because I give so much information. And so I did the webinar for 2-ish years. So I published the book last March. So March of 2015, I published the book. And I think by the end of 2014, I taught the webinar for a year and a half, 2 years. And it was just like at that point where really mobile retail started to super like explode. And I was getting emails, like 1 to 2 emails a day of people being like, hey, can I pick your brain? Can I take you out for coffee? Can you call me? All of those emails where I'm just like, no, I can't. Like, I'm running my friggin' business. Like, sorry. Like, take the webinar. And I think for a lot of people, the webinar, I find a lot of times with people when they want to start a business, they're just not willing to invest in something like a webinar, which to me is crazy because you have to invest, to start any business. But I did actually, we had a good amount of attendance always in the webinars. And then from that came some one-on-one, like I did hour consulting calls, which felt fine. But, a lot of times it was just like patching problems or I think after a while, the 1 hours became like, I just wasn't into them. And so New Year's Day in 2015, I sat down and I was like, screw it. I'm writing this book. I took the webinar, kind of put it into a Word document with the sections and just wrote for like 4 days straight, wrote my little heart out, got most of it done, printed it, did an edit, and then published it in March. And right now it's just an ebook. I'm working on getting it fully professionally copywritten because I'm sorry if you bought the book already. It's just kind of copy edited by me. So there may be some weird mistakes. Email me if you see anything crazy. But I think for me, if I'm going to do it as a printed version, I really want to make sure it's very professional and, all that good stuff. So right now it's just on Kindle, and I even designed the cover myself. And, I got really we went away to Florida for the winter, and that was my project. I was like, I'm not leaving Florida without publishing this damn book. And so the book's been selling for about a year now. And I think I've sold, I want to say 200-ish copies, and it's only $10. So I'm certainly not making, I would say consulting and, the 1 hour consults, the webinar, the book have always brought in some money. But like I said, for me, because I have so much retail background, it's the inventory always made me money. That was it, And then the other stuff was really kind of out of the fact that I wanted people to stop bugging me. And I was just like, okay, it sounds stupid, but it was I just felt like I had to do this brain dump of everything I knew. And so now, and now, instead of emailing me, you can now go to Amazon with a link in the show notes and buy my book. And then if you have questions, then absolutely come and email me. But, picking my brain is just that's not a way to start a business, I guess, is also my other feedback on people that say things like that. So, so the book, I love the book. I think it's really that helped a lot of people. I have 5-star reviews on Amazon. So clearly people are loving it. I'm hoping to get the print version out. I'm not going to set a date, but by the end of this year.
But I think it's good for people to know too, that just by just the fashion truck alone and the brick and mortar, that you are able to make a profit. Because I think that's what some, the newer people are struggling with, scared that they won't ever make a profit. And of course it takes a little blood, sweat, and tears, right? You got to put love into it. You have to have some knowledge so you can actually know how to market yourself and sell. But you're a good example of you can make a living off of it. So that's cool.
Right. And you're selling your truck. But a lot of people, especially the people in our Facebook group, they all they'll send us emails and stuff. Oh my God. Every time I look around, somebody's selling their truck. Is something wrong with the mobile retail industry? I'm afraid, and blah, blah, blah. And what they don't understand is people sell for several different reasons. It doesn't have to be because they're not making a profit or, anything bad. You're selling your truck because you're moving on to something better. It's just a transition. It doesn't always have to be bad. You're going out of business.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a mindset thing too. I think a lot of people don't understand a couple of things. One, the reason I made money is because I always stuck to my margin. If you've seen me in Facebook groups, you know that I think I should have the margin formula tattooed on my head. That's what Stacey always says to me. She's like, I feel like you should just get that margin formula tattooed on your forehead, because literally I even had someone, super sweet woman, she emailed me this week and she goes, so that initial margin formula, that's just for brick and mortar, right? Not for a truck. I'm like, no, it's a retail industry standard. It is an industry standard. It's all the same. It doesn't matter how you're selling. Your initial margin should be between 60 and 75%. And I say 60 because there are some clothes that are a little more expensive that you're going to have to take a lower margin on, but you just don't buy a lot of those clothes. And then jewelry, I see people selling jewelry, they'll sell a beautiful necklace for $11. Okay. I know that necklace costs $4. I get it. I bought the same necklace, right? But if you only charge $11 for it, you're not going to make enough money to support yourself. That necklace needs to be $20.
But people are scared, though. They're scared that if I charge a lot of money for this, nobody's going to buy it. Because I do the same thing, with I have a side business where I sell, a product, and I'm afraid sometimes to price it at what I know it's worth because I fear that nobody's going to pay for it.
But what if you tried it? Have you tried it at that higher price?
No.
All right, girls. So here's the deal. This is business consultant Emily coming out. So listen, here's the deal. If you don't try, you won't know. So stop letting the fear stop you, because that's where it comes in. The fear is our biggest block as humans. We're scared. And money, especially money is like a huge block, especially with women. We have all these money mindset issues that came from when we were a kid, because our parents said, money doesn't grow on trees, and that's expensive, and you got to work really hard if you want to just make a living, and that's, excuse my language, freaking bullshit. Like, no, like, here's the deal is like, you charge what you are worth, and then you figure it out. Maybe your target market isn't the right market. Maybe you're not going to the right places that are going to pay you that. And here's the deal. I say this, I think, in my book too. I always say this on my webinar, but put the price you think it should be, add $5 and see what happens. If it doesn't sell, guess what? You can always rip the sticker off and change it. You don't have to put it on sale. You don't have to mark it down. You are in control. No one knows. And here's, frankly, I had a client this week say to me, like, oh, I just sold out of an item at I think it was like $34. I was like, what'd you pay for it? And I think she said like 11 or 8. I think it was $8. Paid $8 for it. I'm like, all right, so not bad. I was like, and she's like, I just reordered more. I go, okay, so you're going to mark it up this time, right? More, you're going to add more to the retail. She's like, well, no, why? I'm like, because you can't, if something sells out, that's a bad thing. I think we have in our head, like, oh, it's sold out, it's so great. Like, no, it's actually not, because you're probably missing money. You're leaving money on the table. If you reorder something, you need to mark that up at least $5 more, maybe even 10. So that's my advice. Like, I think you can be scared all you want, or you can make money and be happy and live the life you want. Like, it's
right.
One or the other.
We shouldn't. But the thing is, it's like
the whole investing in your business thing. Like, I get it. I get why people don't want to pay for consultations and things like that. Because I'm the same way. I'm so afraid to spend the. If I only have a certain amount of money for this business and I'm not making exactly what I want, like the little money that I have, I want to keep it. I don't.
But the thing is, you have to invest sometimes in order to make money.
And even stuff that I need, like materials, I'll be so skeptical. I'm like, do I really want to pay for this right now?
Right.
No.
Well, you know why? I'll tell you this too. So there's two different kinds of fear of investing is a huge thing in business. As a consultant now, I definitely encounter money objections with people wanting to invest in my consulting. And I say to them, it is really hard to invest in something that you could possibly fail at.
Right.
So going out and investing money on a night, like a nice dinner or like a vacation or a new car, you're going to enjoy those things. They're going to be fun. You're going to be happy after you do it. Investing in consulting, investing in a new business, investing in something that you could fail at is really hard to wrap your head around. Mm-hmm. But what I'll tell you is once you start doing it and you see success from it, you'll be addicted. And you'll say the results you get from investing in yourself are always worth the money you spend. Period.
Yeah, Nashay, she always comes to me. Yeah, I just paid to take this class and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you did what? You paid how much?
Girl,
they always help. I am all about classes and books that work. Like, no regrets, because you're right. You have to invest. Like, if you don't know something, you have to invest to get that knowledge. I don't believe people should pay for all these workshops and webinars and never do anything. My thing is like, you pay for them and then you take action. Mm-hmm. And then I liked what you said too about the raising your prices, because even I don't do it anymore, but I used to do like a lot of web design on the side. And I would get people who would try to get me to do their websites for $500. And I'm like, I'm not about to put all these hours of work in because you don't want to spend more than $500, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to, depending on what you need, you're going to have to spend a few $1,000s. And if that's not worth it, then I'm the wrong person for you, right? Like, you're not really looking for a custom person then. But you know what? People pay like they realized they went out on their own, tried to get a cheap one. It didn't work. And then they would come back to me and then pay my prices because they knew they were going to get something that was good, you know? So I think it is like you have to value yourself, because if you don't value yourself, no one else will. And they will take what you have for next to nothing because you're giving it away.
I'm liking where this is going because I'm starting to get it's like a pep talk to myself.
That's listen, hiring a consultant is the best money you'll ever spend, especially if it's me, because I am like half cheerleader and half like knowledge bomb dropper. Like I literally blow my clients' minds like every week, and they're like, oh my God, yes. Okay. Like an hour with me is like the biggest coffee you've ever drank and like just you're off to the races. Can I actually suggest some books for you guys and our readers?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the biggest things, I've actually invested almost $10,000 in coaching for myself over the past year because I really wanted to get deeper on like what really creates a successful business owner and what that means. And so I've done a lot of work on my own mindset. I think mindset is like a word that can be construed in different ways, but basically like when we're before the age of 9, our money mindset and a lot of our success mindset is basically put in place by the adults who surround us. So generally our parents or whoever have raised us, right? So like I said, a lot of our parents would say, money doesn't grow on trees, or, you know, even if, regardless if our parents are rich or poor, it doesn't matter. We have these like ideas about money and success put into our brain by the time we're 9. We can't do anything about it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's 2 books I absolutely love, and I tell all my clients to read. The first one is called Get Rich, Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffield Thomas. It's hilarious. A, she's hilarious. And B, she gives you really great ideas around changing your mindset around what it means to be, what money means, you know, and like the idea of manifesting money and the idea of setting goals for the money that you want to make and not being worried about how the money is going to come in. Like I remember like 3 or 4 months ago on a Monday, I was like, I calculated how much I needed for Wednesday. And I wrote it down and I just like thought about it. I was like, I need this much money. I need this much money. And from all these random places, by Wednesday, I had exactly that. I think there was like $5 more, but I had exactly that amount of money I needed. And I didn't worry about how it came to me. I didn't worry about, you know, having to sell this or that. It was just like, this is what I need. And I'm going to take some actions and not necessarily rely on all the actions. But, you know, money manifesting is something that if you feel stuck in a place where money isn't coming to you, it's because you're blocking it from coming to you. You're not open to receiving it. And you have to work on some money manifesting. The other book I love, has a super cheesy title, but is really great. It's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And he runs workshops all around the country. And that's all about your money mindset too. And he talks a lot about even just like conscious language too, and some principles of, you know, if you constantly think like, oh, I'm never going to get rich, like, guess what? You're never going to get rich, you know, like he talks about all this programming as a kid and how we've all been programmed. And, you know, of course, in the book, I will give you the disclaimer. He pitches his course a lot too. So you don't have to take the course, just read the book and understand some of the ideas inside of it. But, you know, here's the thing is I know that, you know, I've been limiting how much money I can make for a while, even though I've been making a ton of money, you know, like I want to be a millionaire. That's my goal. Like I want to live around the world. I want to have a big house. I want to have a nice car. And I am not ashamed of that, you know? And I think as women, a lot of times we say, oh, well, of course I want that new car, you know, but I'm happy with what I have. And the minute we say that, we're telling the universe that we actually don't want our dreams. We're okay living in our shitty apartment. We're okay driving our beat up car. And so here's the thing is like, if we really want bigger things in life, we have to believe and truly like tell the universe that we want them and we deserve them. So those 2 books are a really great place to start. If anyone reads them and has revelations, like feel free to email me and I can give you more books. But those are 2 that are really good, just because one's very like girly focused and a little more magical, and the other one's very like a little more masculine energy around money and thoughts and things like that.
I just checked. I looked it up on Amazon, to Get Rich Lucky Bitch. It's actually, if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free.
Awesome. So get it now. Go get it now. It will change your life.
Now, I'm glad that this conversation came up, because I hope that it helps someone out there, like really, because you are right. It is about mindset. And I think a lot of times people don't believe in themselves. And if you don't believe in yourself, then other people who know that too. I don't know. It's like this vibe you're right, that you're putting out in the universe, and you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to like move up. You have to kind of make this mental shift.
Yeah. Do you ever watch RuPaul's Drag Race?
No.
Okay, so RuPaul, like, we all know how amazing she is. She always says, you gotta love yourself before you can love anyone else. And that's true. You have to really like love yourself and believe in yourself before you can go out and do anything. And that's the vibe you're talking about. Same thing. When you meet someone confident, they don't have to tell you they're confident. You just know.
Right.
You know when you meet someone who's like the Eeyore in the room, you can just tell. So
there's this vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right. We'll be wrapping up shortly, but I wanted to make sure that I talked about what your next steps are, because of course you're selling your business, and we talked about this a little bit before the show officially started, but I think it's kind of amazing. So can you tell people about what you're doing next?
One of the reasons I'm selling my business is because last winter, that winter that I wrote the book, we spent it in Florida. So I live outside Boston. We had the snowiest winter ever. And thank God we were in Florida. We didn't have to deal with it. So when we came back, that really started my boyfriend and I on this. What do we want with our lives? We don't want to be here in winter. Okay, cool, check. But like, what else do we really want? And so we actually took time and created this whole goals list for ourselves of personal and professional things we wanted to do. And one of the things we came to realize was we're in this suburban town that is really beautiful and we like the people here, but we just don't fit in and we want to explore more. We're not ready to kind of do the typical settle down thing. So we're selling all of our stuff. We spent this past winter in Antigua, Guatemala for 6 weeks. And then I just came back from a business trip to Paris with spending time with my success coach. And so now we're in the process of selling pretty much all of our stuff and going on the road. So we're going to spend the fall in Curacao, which is an island in the Southern Caribbean. And we'll come home for the holidays. All of our family lives here. And then we'll go back to Guatemala for this spring again because we loved it. And then we're not really sure after that where we'll go. We're kind of just, going to do the Airbnb live work thing. We're not going to backpack. We love the idea of really living in a place for a month to 2 months and just being part of the culture. We have friends in Guatemala now who email us because we were there for so long. One woman was cried the night we left. She's like, I can't believe you guys are leaving, and so we feel we want to, I think part of now that I've gone full force into business consulting is, I can work online and I can work from anywhere. And I think for me, I really want more of a global reach. And so part of that is traveling. I'm planning a live event for creative entrepreneurs here in Boston in August. And then I'm going to do one in Miami in December. So I'll give you guys details about that. But those are going to be really fun. And then hopefully I'm planning to launch a group business coaching program in September, October. We'll see how quickly I can get my act together here. But I just, my goal really right now is to help 1 million female creative entrepreneurs start and run successful, profitable businesses that they love and that they, can support themselves with, because it is possible. It just, there are some things like we talked about, the money mindset stuff. They don't teach that in a business book, but it's so super important. Big things are coming for me. So that's really, like you said before, a lot of people say, oh, and I got that too, frankly. I got that, oh, it's not working for you. Oh, you can't make a go of it. And I was like, no, I've been making a go of it. Oh, by the way. And now I feel called to do this. I have a bigger purpose in my life, and everything up to this moment has been leading me here, and it will continue on after. I don't know where I'm going to end up in 5 or 10 or 15 years. Hopefully I'll be the next Marie Forleo or Gina DeVee or someone like that. But, for right now, it's just like, we want to explore. I want to help as many women as I can. And so, yeah, it's super exciting. So we had a really fun yard sale this morning, selling all of our stuff. And a woman said to me, wow, you're really good at this selling thing. And I was like, well, I better be. I've been doing it for 12 years.
Right.
So.
Well, neat. And do you have any advice for like future fashion truck owners?
Yes. My one bit of advice that, again, I'm going to get a tattooed on my forehead, or I may make I'm thinking gold sparkly temporary tattoos. The initial margin formula, I want every woman to realize who starts their boutique is that they need to be charging at least. So it's not a 2 times. It's not the keystone. It's retail price minus wholesale cost divided by retail price should be between 0.6 when you do that math. Between 0.6 and 0.75, which would be 60 to 75%, so that you make enough money. Take your margin. 50% is not enough. 2.2 is not enough. And you will not be successful. And I hate being negative. Obviously, you guys can tell I'm not a negative person. You will not be successful in your business if you don't have that margin, because guess what? The only way to make money is by selling items. So you can either sell more items or you can sell items at the right margin. And when you do both of those things, which is what I've done to be so successful, you will be fine. You won't have to worry about closing. You won't have anxiety. Just mark your prices up.
No, that's great advice. Make money. If you're doing it to make money, actually make some money.
Yeah, right? Why the hell do we start businesses? Just for fun?
Just, right.
That's not why I started. I mean, maybe a little bit, but.
And then we just have a couple of questions to help folks get to know you better. I won't ask you the book one because we're going to already put the 2 books that you mentioned in the show notes along with your book too. I know you don't have the fashion truck or you're about to sell the fashion truck, but if you still had it, if you could have any celebrity, entertainer, model, athlete, anybody you want, visit your boutique or now be part of your coaching program, who would it be?
Giselle. Oh. Giselle is my favorite. She's
the model, right? Yeah.
Giselle Bundchen, yeah. Giselle Bundchen Brady, because she's married to Tom Brady, who's my favorite. we can talk another time about that, but I do live in Boston, so but Giselle, she just embodies this amazingly graceful woman who is not only beautiful but is very wealthy from all the work she's done, and she gives to charity. She's just this amazing combination of business, personal life, and charity. I heard that they have they obviously have help at their house, but everyone leaves by 5:30 or 6 p.m. So they have only family at their house at night, which is so cool, right? I'm just oh, God. So yeah, she's kind of she's always kind of been one of my role models in life, but she just keeps getting better. I can't handle it. So.
Now, especially when you had the brick and mortar and the fashion truck at the same time, how did you wind down and de-stress? Because I'm assuming that it was probably a little crazy. It's working during the week and weekend. So how did you find time for yourself?
I always had Monday off. That was a hard and fast for me. It was Mondays was always my day off. And I usually on Tuesdays, like especially when I had the brick and mortar, I didn't usually open until about noon or 1 o'clock. So I kind of had like a good 40-ish, 8-ish hours off. That was big for me. I always made sure that like I had date night with my boyfriend, like either Friday or Saturday night. We like always would do something that was super important to me to maintain our relationship. And then otherwise, like, I don't know if I did de-stress. I think like, that was definitely something I've always in my life just had a hard time balancing that. I think I've gotten better as I get older. But I definitely, I did the vacation, like I would do vacations every now and then. But I loved what I did. It's funny, like I wouldn't say I was stressed. I guess that might sound insane, but I'm
it was
kind
like
of
what you love. So maybe, yeah.
Like I'm a retail nerd. I can't help it. Like I really love selling clothes and jewelry, and I loved working with customers. Like, for that one horrible one, there's like 99 amazing ones. And so that's kind of, I'm a people person. I love being part of something bigger. And so that was, I think I just wasn't stressed because I loved it. And I mean, I'm not perfect. I had bad days, but
And then Android or iPhone, and what's your favorite app?
Whoa, good question. I've always been an iPhone girl. I grew up, I had my first Apple IIc when I was 3 years old. So I've always I went to the Macworld conference with my father when I was like 11, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And so, yeah, so definitely I have the Apple. I have the iPhone 6 Plus right now, which I love the Plus.
Yeah.
And my favorite app, God, that's a good question. I don't know. I think the one I probably use the most is like the camera app, which is probably terrible. But I love the Mind Body app. I've been using that a lot lately to book fun like yoga classes and Pilates classes for myself.
What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?
Whoa, I think I'm doing it.
All right.
I'm trying to help a million women start creative businesses that they make money with. Like, I don't think, like, here's the thing. This is a really amazing thing my boyfriend always says. He says, you won't fail because you can't fail. A little weird, right? But here's the thing. If you put yourself out there, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to fail. And like 9.9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to fail. So it's really just getting over that stupid word failure and deciding that like you can't fail because most times you probably won't. So
interesting.
Yeah. So he's a very wise man.
Well, wow. I mean, thank you for coming on the show. Like, I think that, so many people, be it if they're beginners or people who have been doing this for several years, will get a lot out of it from like thinking about kind of like their mind shift to their margins to buying your book just to get started. I think there are a lot of nuggets that people will get from this. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was really fun. I love talking retail and mindset. So right up my alley, girls.
Great episode. I mean, I know you hate when I say the words nuggets, but there was a lot of nuggets up in this episode.
Invest in yourself. That's my takeaway.
Okay, so speaking of that, I'm just going to put Estrell on the spot here.
Okay.
And for those who have been listening to this, Estrell never did really the envelope system. So,
how do you know I didn't do it?
Did you do
and
it?
Why are you telling on me?
Did you do it?
No.
Yeah, so people, when she actually starts that, we'll let you know. But Estrell, I sent you a Skillshare thing for 99 cents for 3 months. Did you sign up?
Okay. I didn't know there was a timeline. in which I was supposed to do that. You just sent it like yesterday.
See, I'm calling Estrella out only because 99 cents. I gave her a 99 cents thing because yesterday we were talking, like, one of my favorite places, and we'll include a link in the show notes, is Skillshare. Like, I love to go on there just to learn different things, to get me off the computer and learn how to like embroider or, do hand lettering. That's where I learned how to do calligraphy, which I use on my packages. But sometimes it's like good to just take a variety of courses in different things. They also have like business related courses and Instagram and photography and things like that. So I definitely recommend that. It sounded like Emily, though, does kind of some of the high-end courses too, because she even talked about going overseas and doing like coaching. So that's a pretty hefty investment, but I think those are good too if you find reputable people. Because let me tell you, folks, there's a lot of people out here that say they're coaches, but they suck. So you want to make sure you get references. You want to make sure that you like that person's style and that they work for you. And so it sounds like she was really able to find people that were really good and really helped her be successful.
And, she invested a lot of money in herself, and I applaud her for that. If I was financially able to do that, I believe I would. I'm not, 100% sure that I would be. I'm just cheap, but I have to get away from that. And I have to realize that if I want my business to succeed, I have to make that investment in myself.
Like 99
So Emily,
cents.
if I had the money, I'd be calling you, girl. I'd be calling you. As soon as I get that loot.
And I haven't started reading it yet, but after talking to her, because she mentioned it, and then I heard it on another podcast, and then I read it in the blog, that Get Rich book, Get Rich, Lucky Bee. And
say the word. I mean, you've already said the curse words in here, so you might as well just say it.
Anywho, we'll include a link in the show notes. But I purchased it on Kindle, so I'm going to read that because I love reading business books. Another book that I would recommend, especially for the creative types, and you don't even have to be like a creative type, is The Crossroads of Should and Must: Find and Follow Your Passion by Ella Luna. It's a beautiful book and it's a great read. Also, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And so anybody who considers themselves as like a creative person, it doesn't mean that you have to be like a designer, but you just think that or feel as though you're a creative person, or you want to be more creative in your life and fill your life more with a sense of wonder. Those two books are really great.
So we hope you guys got a lot out of this episode. We tried to do our best to give you the best information possible. And I think that Emily is a great resource. So if you haven't had an opportunity to get her book about how to start a fashion truck or a mobile boutique, go ahead and do that. It's a great read.
And Emily, we hope you have fun traveling around the world. That's amazing. So jealous. But we hope you enjoyed this episode. Know that I'm going to give you guys a few links to use. The first link to help us keep this podcast running. We've talked about Patreon in the past. That's a way for you to donate to each episode, like $1, $2, $3, $4, $20, whatever you're comfortable with, just to help us pay for hosting and all that other good stuff. And you can get there by going to startafashiontruck.com Patreon, P as in Paul, ATREON, and that will be in the show notes. We'd appreciate if you guys left us a great review. That always helps us move up, in the charts. I don't know what number we are, but we want to get to number at least 3. I won't even say number 1.
Number 1 is a good place to be.
But let's can we get top 10? Top 10 in our category. That would be amazing. Startafashiontruck.com/iTunes. And of course, if you go on Stitcher and you type in Can I Park Here or whatever podcast app of choice you use, we will come right up. But on iTunes, please definitely rate us to help us rank higher. And please share the episodes too.
All right. You have a great day. Thanks for parking here.
Take care.